There's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing's passive, listening is active and requires effort. Are you ready to truly listen to what's been left unsaid? We often hold back because we fear judgment, rejection, or the unknown. But the truth is that holding back only keeps us stuck. It's time to let go of fear and have the conversation we've been avoiding. The hardest truths are often the ones we need to hear the most. It's time to take a step into the unknown, face our feelings, and have the kind of conversation that can change everything. Every conversation has the potential to change the course of our lives, but it requires vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to listen. Are you ready to face what's waiting? We carry our past with us, and it shapes the way we see the world. But in order to move forward, we must confront the truths that we've been avoiding. Are you ready to hear the truth? The truth is not always pretty, but it's always necessary. The longer we put it off, the harder it becomes to face. But the moment we confront it, we open up the possibility for growth and change. Some conversations are more than just words. They're moments of transformation. Are you ready for a conversation that will change everything? Silence is often a sign of fear, not peace. But when we speak our truth, we free ourselves from the chains of unspoken thoughts. Let's have that conversation. Our feelings are not meant to be ignored. They are meant to be understood and expressed. The time has come to speak them out loud and face the truth together. We all have moments when we feel lost, confused, or uncertain. But the key to clarity is having the courage to talk about it. Are you ready to have that conversation with me? Sometimes, the toughest part of a conversation is not speaking, but listening. True understanding comes when we listen with our hearts, not just our ears. It's easy to hide behind our walls, to stay silent and protect ourselves. But real connection happens when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and share what's truly on our minds. The fear of being misunderstood can keep us silent for a long time, but the longer we wait, the more we lose. It's time to speak up, to listen, and to understand each other. We all have a voice, but we don't always use it. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is speak up, even if we're afraid of the consequences. To heal, we must first confront the things that hurt us. It's not easy, but it's the only way to move forward. Let's talk about what's been holding us back. We don't always say what's on our minds, and that's okay. But when we're ready to share, we need to do so with honesty and a willingness to listen. Are you ready? The fear of confrontation often keeps us from the truth. But when we face it head on, we realize that the truth is never as scary as we imagine. Our emotions are not weaknesses, they are guides. When we listen to them, we unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and each other. Are you ready to listen? Sometimes we don't realize how much we've been holding inside until we're forced to confront it. But in that moment of truth, we find freedom. The only way to truly understand each other is to speak openly and honestly. But that requires bravery, the bravery to hear things we might not want to hear. What we feel isn't always what we say. Our words are often a reflection of our fears, our hopes, and our deepest desires. Let's talk about what's really on our hearts. Conversations are powerful. They have the ability to heal, to transform, and to bring us closer together. But they require openness, vulnerability, and a willingness to listen. Sometimes we hold back because we don't want to hurt others. But the truth is, not speaking up can cause even more pain in the long run. It's time to have the conversation that's been waiting. Our thoughts and feelings are complex, and sometimes they don't make sense. But when we share them with others, we find clarity and connection. The path to understanding each other is paved with open, honest conversations. It's not always easy, but it's the only way to move forward together. It's easy to get caught up in what's not being said, but the only way to truly understand is to have the courage to speak up and listen. We all have a story, and sometimes we're afraid to share it. But the truth is, our stories are what connect us. It's time to share ours and listen to each other. We don't always know how to express our feelings, and that's okay. But when we're ready to speak, we need to do so with honesty and courage. The silence between us isn't always peaceful. It's often filled with unspoken words, unanswered questions, and unresolved feelings. It's time to break the silence and speak the truth. Sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones we need to have the most. It's not about being right or wrong, but about understanding where we stand and why we feel the way we do. Are you ready to listen with an open heart? In the midst of silence, there's a world of emotions and thoughts screaming to be heard. The truth is often uncomfortable, but it's through discomfort that we find clarity. Do you have the courage to face it with me? What we feel in the quiet moments often speaks louder than words could ever express. But when the time comes to speak, we have to ask ourselves, are we prepared to hear what might change everything? There comes a time in every relationship when you must face the truths you've been avoiding. It's not about blame or accusation. It's about growth. Are you brave enough to hear what's been hidden in plain sight? The walls we build around our hearts are meant to protect us, but they also keep us from the intimacy we crave. Breaking them down takes courage, but it's the only way to truly connect. Are you ready to hear what lies beneath? We all carry unspoken burdens, thoughts we don't share because we're afraid of the impact they might have. But silence only prolongs the pain. It's time to face the truth, no matter how raw it may feel. Words have power, but silence holds its own kind of weight. When we're finally ready to speak our truth, we need to do so with honesty and vulnerability. Can you hear me now, or are you still afraid of the truth? Healing begins when we allow ourselves to be truly heard, but first, we must have the courage to speak what's in our hearts. Let's talk, and let's listen with an open mind and soul. In the depths of our souls, we often find conflicting feelings: fear, love, regret, hope. But when we talk about them openly, we create a path toward healing. Are you ready to listen, no matter how uncomfortable the truth may be? Sometimes the truth is messy, it's raw, it's painful, but it's also liberating. The question isn't whether we can handle the truth, but whether we are willing to confront it head on. It's easy to ignore what's in front of us, to turn a blind eye to the things we'd rather not face. But if we want to move forward, we must address the things we've been avoiding. Are you ready to have that conversation? The heart speaks in ways that words can't always capture. But when we truly listen, we start to understand. Are you brave enough to hear what's been unsaid for far too long? No matter how much we try to bury our feelings, they have a way of resurfacing. They demand to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. It's time for a conversation that can't be avoided any longer. The unspoken truths we carry with us shape who we are, whether we like it or not. It's time to take a closer look at those truths and see them for what they really are. Are you ready to hear it? We all have a story that's waiting to be told. The question is, are we brave enough to listen to our own? It's time for a deep, real conversation. Sometimes, the hardest conversations are the most important ones. The kind that make us question everything we thought we knew. But it's through those conversations that we grow the most. In every relationship, there are moments of silence, filled with thoughts and feelings that go unspoken. But the silence can only last so long. It's time to talk, to share, and to listen. We often fear the truth because it has the power to change everything. But in order to move forward, we have to face it. The question is, are you willing to hear it, no matter how difficult it may be? When we truly listen to each other, we create a space for healing, but it requires vulnerability, trust, and the courage to face whatever comes up. Are you ready for that kind of conversation? Our minds are filled with thoughts and emotions that we don't always know how to express. But when we're willing to share them, we open the door to deeper connection. It's time for us to talk. It's not just about what we say, it's about what we hear and understand. True communication goes beyond words. It's about connecting on a deeper level. Are you ready to listen? The most important conversations aren't always the easiest ones. They challenge us, push us, and sometimes even hurt us. But it's through these tough moments that we find clarity and understanding. There's a power in speaking our truths, even when they're hard to hear. It's not about winning or losing. It's about being honest with ourselves and each other. Let's talk openly, no matter the cost. Emotions can be messy, but they're also what make us human. It's time to stop pretending they don't exist and start talking about them. Are you ready for the truth? Sometimes the things we need to hear the most are the ones we're least prepared to listen to. But the only way to grow is to face the uncomfortable truths that hold us back.